Morris and Harlan, thank you so much for taking the time to kick off this event.
Thank you, Bill. That's quite an introduction. All I can say is I'm glad I drank some coffee this morning before going on, because with the energy you are exuding, I need a lot of coffee to keep up with that.
Harlan, thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh, my pleasure. Absolutely. You know, I had suggested that we bring Buddy on because he's a very unique individual. When I say unique, I mean, Buddy has accomplished a tremendous amount. There's a lot people don't know, although $24 million a year gets you a lot of notoriety. If you take a look at what happened back in 1980, and I know that we've talked about this before. I mean, there wasn't anything that we could do to get out of the way of phone calls. I mean, you'd literally stand there and watch the phone ring off the hook. Yeah. And our biggest problem was, what do you?
An ad ran. Every single time an ad ran, the phone would ring off the hook.
Absolutely. And we just, and our biggest problems was, what are we going to do with all these calls? You know, how are we going to weed through them? And one of the things, and I'm certainly not patronizing you at this point, but I want to give you one big compliment here. You recognize the business aspect of this very, very early on. I remember that because you've taught me so much. You know, we exchange stories, you know, understanding that we have to manage this whole business tsunami that was coming at us. You took hold of it. You really did. And you know that because look where you are now. And you've had that journey ever since the beginning. Did you ever think that you'd be where you are now?
You know, I had big ambitions, but no, I never thought I would have a firm this size, spend this much money, and be this big. It just grew, unlike what the management gurus say about have 5-year plans, 10-year plans, set goals. I never did any of that shit. I mean, I just, you know, grew intuitively. I wanted to grow. I wanted to be successful. And quite honestly, I love being a lawyer. You know, even though you're correct when you say I embraced the business early on, for the first 12 years of my career, I was the top trial lawyer in the firm. I was the one that did all the jury trials, you know, all the depositions in the big cases. I like that. I like being a lawyer. And then I was on a collision course, actually, because you can't work cases and manage a growing law firm at the same time. You can, to a limited amount. I mean, I was gradually, since I didn't really set goals, I was gradually reducing my caseload. And I remember I got down to maybe 20 big cases I was handling myself. Big maritime cases, automobile injury cases. And it was hard to run out of the office all the time to do motions, depositions, etc., and then try and grapple with the marketing and growing a big firm. I remember a good friend of mine at that time, actually, it's someone, this would be an interesting quick story. The good friend of mine I'm talking about is Jim Sokolov. And, you know, many of you still see his ads on television, although he's retired. Jim's a very innovative guy. You know, and back at the early days, I mean, Bill, it's interesting that, you know, Harlan, who has been one of the leaders for decades, and Jim Sokolov, who's been one of the leaders for decades. I mean, we all shared information freely and learned from each other. And I remember sitting down with Jim Sokolov in, I guess it was the Ritz-Carlton or the Four Seasons in Boston, right there on that public garden. And he said, you got to stop handling cases and concentrate on management. And I remember thinking, you are absolutely nuts. I'm a lawyer. If I don't handle cases, what the hell am I going to do? You know, what's the point of being a lawyer if I'm not doing it? He goes, you know, take it from me. He goes, my father was a lawyer. You know, I followed his example. I became a lawyer. And once I stopped handling cases myself and delegated them to other lawyers in the firm and concentrated on growing my firm, he said the growth was exponential. Jim was instrumental in giving me the confidence to say, okay, after 12 years of being a trial lawyer, which I love, and to this day, I love the practice of law. I mean, I'm in my office every day, and although I don't do depositions myself, I do head up our firm's mass tort team, but I like it. It worked for me. I like the practice of law. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy the business end of it. But I don't want to mislead anybody on this call and say, okay, the key to success is you do case and then you evolve to management. You got to enjoy what you're doing first and foremost. And I enjoy being a lawyer. And then I just put pedal to the metal to try and grow my firm as much as I could. But if you don't enjoy what you're doing, then you're not going to be successful.
Out of all the conversations, all the meetings that we've attended, all the things that I've never heard you say you're a shitty lawyer and you got a bad practice, because that's part of running the business, because the business of service is what you're made of. And I'm complimenting you, but I'm also telling the audience that you have to do both.
Yeah.
You must practice good law, and you know that.
Absolutely. But I guess if I had to synthesize it to one key element of success, it would be this. You got to love people. You got to love people. And that's the foundation on which everything is built, because we're in a personal service business. I love people. I always have. Look, before I did this, I used to, in college and in law school, I used to be a bartender. I love that job. It was the most fun job any kid could ever imagine. This was, before cell phone cameras. This was before the Me Too movement. So, might be some embarrassing things. We're not going to go any further with that. But it was a fabulous job. And it was perfect for my personality, because I would go to work and I would sit there at the bar. We could talk to everybody. This is back in the days when bartenders would free pour liquor. There was no quantity control, no measuring cups, no stuff like that. I mean, if we saw someone we wanted to give a drink to, fine, we'd give them a drink. It was, no big deal. Great job. And really an important job that developed my social skills. And actually, to this day, one of the things I look for when I hire someone, when we interview lawyers, and I'm always the final word. Every single lawyer we hire, the final interview is with me. And one of the things I ask them, which always takes them aback, is I said, okay, before you became a lawyer, what did you do? And some of them, particularly female attorneys, might sheepishly say, well, I worked as a hostess, in a restaurant, or I worked as a waitress in a bar. And then I always tell her, you know what? I'm glad to hear that. That's what I'm looking for. If you worked at McDonald's, if you worked at Walmart, if you worked in some place where you had to interact with the public a lot and people from all walks of society, that is essential to being a lawyer. So you take that, just natural social skills, my love of people, and then I have a platform to deal with people, no longer a bartender. Now I'm dealing with them as a lawyer. It made sense. And then I go on television. Look, when you go on television, you better like people, because everyone's going to stop you on the street. They likely will make fun of you and go, oh, I just hurt my neck. I just hurt my neck. You got to laughing, talking to people, having fun with that. If you don't have those skills, if being in the grocery store and having somebody come up and recognize you, or even kid you or make fun of you about what you do, and you don't feel like joking with them, you better think twice about putting your name or face on television, because that comes with the turf. And actually, you better think twice about being a lawyer. Maybe you should be a transactional lawyer or go work for the government. I mean, we're in a personal service business. And I think the basic skill everybody on this call has to have is you genuinely have to love people. You have to love interacting with people. And if you do, that's the key to success.
Let me ask you a question about your brand. If you were to describe your brand, how would you describe it? Because brand is, as you know, it's what people think of you when you're out of the room.
I would like to describe my brand and the image we project as professional, successful, having the wealth and the means to get people the most money on their case. And I'll tell you a couple of reasons why I like to do that. And look, style is style. I'm not going to belittle anybody's style. There's lots of styles out there. The whole spectrum, from wild and crazy lawyer ads to very stuffy lawyer ads. Your style is your style. I mean, when I went to court, I always dressed very nice in suit and tie. That's my style. If somebody came in a sport coat, I mean, back then you wouldn't dare go to court without a tie. I know some courts now are loosened up where you can go in, without a tie. That's fine. That's fine. I mean, your style is your style. And this gets into another matter. We can discuss it later, but that's very important, as you know, Harlan, when you do television commercials, you have to do a style that works for you. So the style that works for me is one, I want to project myself as a serious professional lawyer, but not taking myself seriously. I want to project myself as someone successful. And kind of the image I have in my mind, what I think about is, and this is a good way to look at it, everybody on this call should just think about, if I needed surgery and a doctor was recommended to me, and I didn't know who this doctor was. And so I decided I'm going to go online and I'm going to check Facebook, I'm going to check Instagram, and I'm going to try and learn a little bit about this doctor before I hire him. What sort of pictures, what sort of videos, what sort of stories would make me feel confident that this is the doctor I want to do my surgery? Okay. Now, everybody has a different image. I can just tell you, you can imagine from the way what I just said about my ad, the pictures I'm going to expect to see of that surgeon. I would not expect to hire a surgeon that has a ponytail and tattoos and wears blue jeans. But style is style. You do what you want to do. But that's kind of my my operating mantra, is when I create ads, which I've done that. Well, for the first 10 or 15 years, I had someone that created ads for me. And then I broke off from them, and for God knows how long, 25, 30 years, easily since the late 80s, because I know in the late 80s, I created the slogan, "One call, that's all." So I know I've been doing it since the late 80s. And in my mind's eye, I try to envision kind of the surgeon. And when I say the surgeon, it's got to be an aggressive surgeon, because we're in the most hyper-competitive business in America. Nothing comes close to what we're doing. Nothing. I mean, think about it. Like in Louisiana, we have 22,000 licensed lawyers. In New Orleans alone, we have 7,000 lawyers. Every single one of these lawyers would take a personal injury case, because even if you're a real estate lawyer, you would take that case and then flip it to your friend who's a personal injury lawyer and get a percentage of the fee kicked back on you. So I have 22,000 competitors in the state of Louisiana. I talked to my car dealer friends and I said, how would you like to have 22,000 BMW dealers in the state of Louisiana, or any other profession? Nothing comes close to what we do. We're the most hyper-competitive business in the world, being a personal injury lawyer in anywhere in America. So because of that, you've got to carve out a niche for yourself. You've got to keep it genuine. I'm the style I am. Some of you on this call, you have a different view, and I respect that. I mean, if I'm a younger lawyer, look, I mean, like, if I'm Bill, he's got a lot of energy. He's got the casual look, he's got the little buzz cut around the ears, I mean, you got to notice things like that. Okay, that's good. That's good. That's a different image that projects something. And look, marketing is marketing. There's always a niche. Marketing works no matter what type of ad you run. I have no doubt Bill could go on television with his personality and his energy and be successful, and very likely reach a different demo than I would reach.
Hey, could you do me a favor and tell me what the heck this Mobo Winnebago is? I just want to have a little fun with it, because I caught it online, and it's quite interesting, because you have your offices around the and by the way, your offices, I mean, they're full working offices. They're they're real. You walk in, I mean, you feel like you're in the right place.
Right. So sometimes, just like I talked about advertising back in 1980, sometimes you take a chance on things and you just hope they work out. So I'll give you two examples. One is the Winnebago, but first it starts. So I move into a big, beautiful office building downtown, and we're the second largest tenant in this building. I have 70,000 square feet in my New Orleans office. So I'm looking around. I'm seeing all the big buildings in downtown New Orleans, but everybody seems anonymous. You go inside, you go up, and you're in your office, and nobody really knows. And of course, I have a high profile in New Orleans. So I thought, I want to set up some retail space in the first floor of our building to have kind of a client center. And I can have a big lighted sign on the outside of the building. So I got some first floor retail space, which retail space is a lot more expensive, I found out, than office space. So I set it up. And I wanted it non-traditional, so I built it out as an art gallery. I told the architect I was working with, forget that I'm a lawyer. Say I'm opening up an art gallery and design space for me that looks like an art gallery. So we did that, very hip colors, open air type of environment. And then I filled up the space with some of the finest art from New Orleans, some of the most famous artists, and some outside, like I had my signature piece is a wall sculpture by Dale Chihuly, who is one of the most famous glass sculptures in the world. In fact, if you go to the Bellagio Hotel in Las Vegas and look up at the ceiling, that's Dale Chihuly. So I did that, and then I did a little brochure, and I just put my name out front. That's it. I didn't put I'm a lawyer or anything else, just my name, because I wanted to get people from out of town that were walking by just to come in and say, hey, is this an art gallery? And we did a little brochure of the art, and we'd give it to them. And of course, they come in, they were very impressed, and it got a lot of attention in New Orleans about this gallery I had. Okay, fine. What's the point? The point is this. March of 2020, freaking COVID hits. Who in the world could ever have thought about a pandemic hitting? Well, all of a sudden COVID hits, and now we don't want clients and lawyers or anybody else coming into our offices because of the virus. But yet I want all my lawyers coming to the office to work. So what I'm able to do is I pivot, and all the lawyers come to work in the office, but no clients or lawyers outside can come into our working offices. They go to the first floor center. And that's the way it is even to this day. Never anticipated it, so it worked out that way. Sometimes
I
things
kind
like
of
that
interpreted it as you don't have to climb that elevator and go through that laborious, skyscraper, and it's approachable. I mean, it's just it's kind of an interesting. It's kind of an interesting, play. I caught my attention. That's why I'm bringing it up.
That's
in this conversation.
exactly what I was saying to Harlan is that number one, it's good marketing to have a street side presence. We're on one of the most visible intersections of New Orleans. And so I have the presence there. And also, again, you're absolutely right. With my clients being approachable, we deal with clients just like everybody else on this call, from the middle to the lower socioeconomic strata. They get a little intimidated by going up the elevators to this fancy law office. So I wanted to have something nice for them to go to on the first floor. And it's evolved not only for clients, we do mediations, arbitrations, depositions there. So it's widely used. Along that same philosophy, we now go to the Winnebago. So turning a disadvantage into an advantage, we have a hurricane that hits Lake Charles. My office is in a tall office building in Lake Charles that was totally destroyed. So we don't have any place to go. There's no other space. The few spaces that they had in second and third rate, like two-story walk-up buildings, those were snapped up right away by a lot of the local businesses. I'm looking around town. There's no office space. So I decide, what the hell? I'm going to buy a Winnebago. I'm going to wrap it like one of my yellow billboards. So I'll have a rolling billboard. And what I'll do is I'll find somebody that has a parking lot, and I'll go to them and ask them if I can pay them a few $100 a month and park my Winnebago there. So it didn't take us more than a few days. We find some guy says, yeah, give me a couple $100 a month. You can park your Winnebago, your bright yellow with, you know, my big face on it, you know, park your Winnebago on our lot. And he goes, and also in my building, I have bathrooms, so you can use that. Although I do have a bathroom on the Winnebago. So that was it. So I put that together. We notify all our clients in Lake Charles that we now have a temporary office in this Winnebago. We drive there. We put out a folding table. We have plenty of water and food and snacks, and we have cell phone service, and we're meeting our clients. So that works out good until Lake Charles gets up and running again. And then we got an office, so we have an office now. So now I have this Winnebago, and I'm not really the camping type. So, you know, I don't know, you know, what the hell am I going to do with this Winnebago? So then I said, okay, I know what. I hire a professional driver, and I tell him 2 days a week, I just want you driving it around on the interstates in South Louisiana and in South Mississippi. So for the last 8 months or so, that's what he's been doing. It's almost like a huge rolling billboard. And he gets a kick out of it. Like, he'll drive down, he said people honk at him all the time. People take pictures of the Winnebago. It's good marketing. So that works out well. And then, as you all know, just a few weeks ago, unfortunately, Louisiana gets hit again with another hurricane, Hurricane Ida, that came through and devastated large parts of Louisiana. Really horrendous what it's done in parts of South Louisiana. New Orleans was spared for the most part. We had some damage, but caused a tremendous amount of damage. So now what I'm doing, I've put my Winnebago back into service, and we're going down to these communities where we have lots of clients. We're getting lots of calls like Houma, Laplace, even Baton Rouge and outlying parts of New Orleans, where people are dealing with their houses, insurance adjusters, and we're signing up tons and tons of hurricane claims. But this is just, you know, whether it's luck, I don't know if it's luck. They say, you know, luck is to people who are well prepared. But I think I took some chances with my first floor client center. That worked out great with COVID. I couldn't have anticipated that. I took some chances with buying a Winnebago to be a temporary office. And then now it's worked as a great temporary office for all these different communities that have been impacted by the hurricane. So sometimes you do something a little out of the ordinary. And when you do that, it reaps a lot of benefits.
I have only one burning question. And the burning question that I have, and tons of great wisdom I took notes on my handy dandy whiteboard over here, is why all the growth? Why go so big? You know, why not just be a small town lawyer with 5 employees and have a good take home income and just, you know, call it quits when you get to retirement age? What is the driving force within you, buddy, that has caused you to keep pushing? Is it something that happened in your childhood? Is it something that happened like a wake up call mid through your career of growing your firm? What was that real turning point for you where you decided, I want to build a business and I don't want to just build a job for myself. I want to build a business?
I don't know that I ever thought I want to build a business. I just thought I want to be successful. You know, first I wanted to be successful for myself as a trial lawyer. I wanted to go into court. I wanted to do jury trials. I wanted to kick ass. And I wanted the opportunity. It was just inside of me. It was just a drive that I had. And then as I started marketing, because like I said earlier, the hardest part back then as it is now is getting new business. I got the business and I decided just pedal to the metal. I'm just going to keep going and going and going. Why I've reached this age and I still have the same drive and the same ambition, I don't know that I can answer that other than to maybe say that I love people and I enjoy what I'm doing. I enjoy the limelight. Maybe I'm egotistical. You know, I like the attention. I like when I go to a restaurant and I get the celebrity treatment. All over New Orleans, I get the celebrity treatment. Who wouldn't like that? Why would you ever want to step out of the spotlight? I mean, you know, you look at these NBA players, or not even that. Drew Brees was our star quarterback in New Orleans. We loved him for so many years. Now he's going to be in the broadcast booth, and I'm sure he'll do an excellent job. You can say the same thing to him. You know, hey, you're a football player. You did so well. You made so much money. Why don't you retire? He'd laugh at that, because the answer is there's no reason to retire. Retirement is overrated. That's ridiculous to retire. It's not about retirement. It's about health, and it's about doing what you enjoy. If you enjoy what you do and you're healthy, you keep doing it. So I'll ask you a question, Bill. Maury Povich has one of the top-rated daytime shows. Still after these years, top-rated. How old is Maury Povich?
He's got to be over 70.
Yeah, probably early 70s, right?
Yep.
He's 81.
Wow.
He's 81. Can you believe all these young kids all over America are watching Maury Povich say, "Who's the daddy?" He's still doing the "Who's the daddy" after all these years, and kids of all races, male, female, are eating it up. They would be shocked. They would be flabbergasted if they knew that they're watching an 81-year-old man doing this. And you know what? That's my role model. Why not? If he can dominate daytime television, why can't I? I mean, as long as I enjoy it, as long as I'm healthy, it's all about balance in life. I mean, as I get older, that's what I realize. It's not about, working your ass off and getting stressed out and never enjoying life. And then all of a sudden you go, screw this. I'm going to retire and do nothing and be bored the rest of my life. And as a friend of mine says, once you retire, there's only one big event left in your life. That's not for me. That's not for me. I'm healthy. I work out every day. I enjoy life. I have a home in Aspen. I go skiing. I have a huge penthouse right on the Gulf in Destin, Florida. I go and, I go, I've got, what do they call it? A YOLO board, but just the paddle boards. That's what we call it. I do the YOLO board. I run, I bike, I'm enjoying life. And then when I'm here, I work my ass off. And that's the way I've done it. That's the way I like it. And as long as I'm enjoying what I'm doing and I'm healthy, yeah, you're going to see me for a long, long time.